What's up, guys? You're listening to a September 1st edition of the SplashTag podcast. I'm your host, Matt, and today joining me for the second time is my buddy Jason, who, fun fact, last time he was on, that episode actually was, it's the most listened to episode according to the SoundCloud metrics. So I guess y'all really like him, so had to bring him back on. So without further ado, let me welcome on my guest, Jason. How's it going, man?
Hey man, how's it going? Glad to be back for the sequel, and hopefully I'll be able to join for a couple more times in the future.
Yeah. So right off the bat, before I actually didn't send this to you on the rundown, but so the last time we chatted, it was right around when there was the Damian Lillard Marvin Bagley back and forth rap feud, let's call it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and on that episode, like that episode between that conversation between us, I was kissing up to Dame. I was like crapping all over Marvin Bagley. And I gotta say, I listened to his second track called Checkmate, and I'm not gonna lie, I think it's pretty good. So I just want to start this podcast off by apologizing to Marvin Bagley. He does have bars. I like the Kings. I like him. I like Fox. So just wanted to apologize to Marvin Bagley and just give him his props. Anyhow, I brought you on because you're one of the reasons I brought you on is because you are a Rockets fan, and since the last time we spoke, there was quite a big blockbuster trade between the Rockets and the Oklahoma City Thunder, and so I haven't quite been able to get your take on how you feel about that trade. So just take it away.
Yeah, I mean, a lot's changed since before the last time we talked. I mean, the whole Rockets team was completely different, and it's now reshaped. And you basically replaced Chris Paul with Russell Westbrook. And I mean, honestly, I like the trade because it really just raises the risk profile here. And I think the ceiling of the Rockets has gone up, while the floor has gone down. But I mean, I like it. That's why we always say in Morey we trust, because he's always willing to shake things up and not follow with the status quo. And I mean, he basically replaced Chris Paul with someone who's just a bit younger and a lot more dynamic. And I mean, I think would work well at a personal level with James Harden. And I'm really excited to see how that goes.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with you that the ceiling is raised, but I also think the floor is dropped quite a bit. Not quite a bit, but I think the floor is like definitely lower as well. Um, one concern that I have right off the bat, and I'm curious to see how you feel, is I personally don't think that Mike D'Antoni is very good when it comes to managing personalities and stars. So that has me incredibly concerned for Mike D'Antoni. Plus, you factor in the drama about his contract this past summer, and that has me thinking that Mike D'Antoni, if things go south in the slightest bit, I think Mike D'Antoni's gone. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he's got honestly a very short leash. You can kind of read it in the tea leaves that they didn't maintain the rest of the coaching staff. So I mean, they had their defensive kind of coordinator Jeff Bizdelich, I think that's his name, Bizdelich, and they kind of let him go after the season, after he kind of retired and then got brought back in. So I don't think D'Antoni's got his like coaching staff support. So I definitely think this could be the same thing that happened to the coach before Mike D'Antoni. I'm blanking on Markelle, right? Markelle was fired really early in the season and got replaced by JB Bickerstaff, and like this I can see this whole situation kind of play out where we start off kind of slow, and D'Antoni is really just on a short leash and would probably get replaced. I don't want that to happen because I definitely believe in like kind of team continuity throughout in the season, and you don't really want to have a lot of turmoil. But honestly, it really just comes down to kind of the team chemistry without kind of playing in D'Antoni into the equation here. Like it's really up to Russell Westbrook and James Harden how they want to set the tone and the chemistry within the locker room. Because I actually remember when before this past season, the Rockets were really tight when they had James Harden, Chris Paul, Trevor Ariza, a lot of vets who kind of really gelled well, and that's when they really did very, very well in the regular season, getting the first seed, and that was like kind of their best shot at winning the championship between the last 2 years. So it's really on kind of how the team really gels, and I really hope that it works out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a great point you brought up, especially mentioning Trevor Ariza. I really think that the loss of Trevor Ariza was obviously he was being paid a little too much for Daryl Morey to want to keep him, but I really think that loss actually obviously it takes away like a 3-and-D wing guy who knew how to play with both James Harden and Chris Paul, but I really think that losing that established 3-and-D vet was probably the beginning of the deterioration of that Chris Paul James Harden relationship.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Morey learned from his lesson, and I think the person who kind of stepped up into that veteran leadership is really a glue guy within the team is like PJ Tucker, and that's why
Yep.
we didn't pull the trigger on a lot of trades, or we were very hesitant about trading and getting rid of PJ Tucker to try and improve the team.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy just thinking about, where PJ Tucker, I think PJ Tucker, he was like out of the league from maybe like 2007 to 2012, and then he comes back, he signs with the Suns, and now I would argue he's honestly one of the most valuable role players in the NBA today, which is just kind of crazy considering where he was not long ago. But on a Rockets related note, how do you feel about this Eric Gordon extension?
I like it. I think I was actually going to bring this up and say that, take out Russell Westbrook and James Harden as like those are known factors, and we know what they bring to the table, and it's just the chemistry between them. But like Eric Gordon is by far the third best player on the team, and we really need him to be playing well this upcoming season to like be able to have a chance at contending for the championship, because he does everything. He's just not a selfish player that he needs his touches. He can shoot at a pretty good clip. Like I'm expecting like 36 to 38% on a really high volume 3-point attempts. Like he's really good at, just from seeing him play live, like he's awesome at attacking the rim. When you see a drive from James Harden, he kicks it out, and he can do he can shoot the three, pump fake, or drive toward the hoop. And one other thing that I think a lot of people don't really know is he's a great defender, dude. He's got fantastic size as a guard, and just pointing to the last playoffs, like he shut down Donovan Mitchell. Like he just was too physical for Donovan. Maybe Donovan was a little bit younger, and he wasn't really used to kind of the size and the physicality that Eric Gordon was bringing, but he played out of his mind in that series, and even in the Golden State series, he's playing pretty well. So I really hope he continues it for the next season.
Yeah, and I think Daryl always gets really creative with these contracts and their incentives. So I saw that I think the fourth year of the Eric Gordon extension is guaranteed if he's an all-star or the Rockets win a championship. So I think that's kind of a smart way to just a smart kind of incentive to have in that deal, so that you're not necessarily overpaying if it doesn't work out in that fourth year.
Exactly, and what you realize is this is an definite win now type of move. Like this team that you have, these pieces are probably locked in. Like this is your core team. You're not really going to swing for the fences on any other free agency. You're not going to bring anyone else. So I think Daryl Morey is, when he did sign the contract, he said, all right, I'm very confident in this team. There's not major pieces that he thinks that he could really kind of move here. So I'm pretty happy with it, because I really think Eric Gordon has been underrated, and we definitely, took a chance on him when he was coming out of New Orleans, where he was kind of injury prone, and a lot of people were kind of a little hesitant on what he would be like moving onto his kind of later half of his career. But I definitely like the move. Much respect to Eric Gordon. He's just the perfect player for our system.
Yeah, and I was also gonna say I think that, I mean, Russell Westbrook still has a couple years left on his deal, so let's say it doesn't quite gel the way they'd like. He's still a movable. He's still you can still parlay him into other stuff. So I guess that was something I should have mentioned earlier. It's that in the case where things don't work out, they still can redeem some value out of him. out of Russell Westbrook as an asset, and so I think that's a nice kind of like out for them. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, their draft picks are kind of
The
their
draft, yeah,
picks are kind of gone, so it's like they can't really sweeten any deals to trade Russell Westbrook or any of their players because they just don't have the draft assets to kind of make it more enticing for them. So again, like
that's yeah.
I think I think they're very locked into to what they have for at least the next probably 2 years.
Okay. I mean, yes, they lost. They don't have their draft picks, but I could also see there's a lot of teams that are either in cap, they're either capped up or they are never getting free agents that I'm sure would take a swing on Russell Westbrook. For instance, I could see the Pistons bidding high for Russell Westbrook. The Heat obviously have been connected to Russell Westbrook for quite some time. Just to name like two potential places, destinations in the case where Russ and Houston doesn't quite work out.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, what would you actually get from Russell Westbrook? Like, I don't think there are any players that are movable that could basically is better than Russell Westbrook. You'll be trading
Right.
him for really just
You would.
pieces and
I
just
think.
saying,
Yeah.
okay, we need Harden and we need to work with just Harden as our centerpiece, and we just need a bunch of
Right.
really solid depth pieces. So
Yeah. It would be Russell Westbrook for maybe a couple picks and some role players and a starter, that kind of thing. Like by role players, I mean like your third, fourth, fifth guys.
yeah, and I mean, like, dude, they luckily they do have their, I think, 20. Well, they might have their 2021, but they have their 2022, and then they've got like 3 picks from 2024, 2025, 2026 that are just they're under control. So it's just like it's really a big swing to win now
Yeah,
and
I agree.
forego the rest of their future. So
For sure. So, final prediction, or just what are you expecting out of Rockets, both regular season and playoff success?
like honestly, I see them finishing within the top, I guess, top three. I would have to take a look at kind of the landscape, but I think full health Clippers are probably good, on the same level or better than the Rockets. And I think they don't need a gun for like the first seed overall because I think they've gotten it and they know kind of what it feels like to work from the top seed. And I think they realize that, like, okay, you don't need to be the top seed, but you definitely need to be within the first 3 seeds to be able to comfortably get to the finals. And then I mean, it's what it is. Like, I expect them to get to the championship and win the championship this year. And this is their best shot, and it's a lot of pressure. But I mean, I think this is one of their best opportunities to get there.
Okay. I agree with you about the regular season part. I think that Houston's probably a top 3 seed. I think they're going to be a great regular season team. Like, when you have two guys who are, top, whatever you want to say, top 10 players, and two guys who are hard to game plan just on the fly, you're going to win a lot of games. That's just kind of the nature of kind of NBA history. It shows us when you have two top level guys, you're going to be a pretty solid team in the regular season. It's the playoffs where I have a little more concerns, not specifically, not from any one person in particular, but the combination of Russell Westbrook, James Harden, and Mike D'Antoni. I think they raise enough red flags regarding just their playoff resumes. The playoff resumes to where I personally I think second round. I think second round, but hey, maybe I'll eat crow on this one and be totally wrong.
Yeah, all right. Well, it's on record, and you saying the second round. So, but what I would say, and this is from Game of Thrones. Chaos is a ladder, and we've never really had a season where it's been this chaotic in terms of everything is very new and fresh. And in the NBA, it's kind of like you took all the pieces and you just put it in a box and shook it up, and now you have completely new teams.
Yeah.
Especially with the Warriors injuries, Kawhi leaving. Last year's champion, the Raptors aren't actually even considered favorites. I would say I wouldn't even say they're within like the top 5 favorites to win the chip. So everything is very new, and all these moving parts could really be an awesome opportunity for the Rockets to kind of, get out in front of the pack and end up winning the championship. So anything's possible, man. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely agree. But for me, it's like a case of I got to see it to believe it, you know?
Yeah. And I think it's really, you really got to see, what happens in the kind of first 10, 15 games from Rockets to really see, okay, like how are the role players kind of playing in? Because I think for me, I'm really concerned about, Eric Gordon, PJ Tucker, even Clint Capella. Like I really want to see some improvement in Clint Capella, really as like, a better version of what Steven Adams was for Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant, being able to like, switch, catch lobs, do the dirty work, get rebounds, get blocks, maybe improve on some of his post moves, maybe improve on some of his free throws, but like, the secondary pieces are really what I'm going to be focused on. And that's, first couple games from the Rockets, just to see how everything gels.
Yeah. This is, I guess, the last Rockets point that I'll make before we kind of move on. But for me, I just want to see Russell Westbrook in like a high stakes setting, being able to kind of take a step back and like not play at this chaotic pace. Like, I feel like the last two playoffs, Russell Westbrook, when things are when everyone's kind of looking sideways and like who's going to step up, he's obviously got all the confidence in the world and he's unafraid to step up. But I feel like he's kind of imploded, like just because he's trying so hard the last two playoffs. And we've seen him against Utah, he takes a bunch of shots and like he made those statements about locking up Rubio, and then it didn't really happen. And then this past season, this past playoffs, he was talking a lot of shit to Damian Lillard, and Lillard said nothing and absolutely was an ice cold motherfucker. So I don't know. I feel like I got to see Russell Westbrook maintain that regular season effectiveness into the playoffs and also not kind of rush himself. That's the big thing I want to see from Russell Westbrook if the Rockets are going to succeed in the playoffs.
Look, all I'm saying is, you see it from one angle, but I remember from last season, they had this game against, I think, the Rockets, like the second to last game of the season, where the Rockets were up pretty big coming into the closing, and he single-handedly hit a couple threes to just sink us. And that took the Rockets from like the second or third seed all the way down fourth. 2 spots to the fourth. Yeah. And I was like, dude, this guy is like ice cold, dude. Like he is not afraid to like take these shots.
I know he's not afraid. He's not afraid.
Yes, he's not afraid. And it's again like, higher risk. I'm excited to see how it goes, and everything comes down to kind of how the dice are rolled, and I'm willing to accept that with Westbrook you got a little bit more dice in the role than maybe Chris Paul. So I'm just saying, like, higher risk. He's not afraid to take the last shots. He's got you can look up top 10 like best game-winning buzzer beaters, Russell Westbrook, best game-winning buzzer beaters, James Harden. So they have hit the shots. It's all about whether or not they can execute in the playoffs, and that's something that we'll have to see next season.
Yeah, I mean, look, I used to defend Russ back when everyone shat on him for taking away shots from KD, and then now I feel like there's been this recent coronation for Russ, and so I try to just kind of be a little more objective. All I'm saying is I know what I've seen. I have an 11-game playoff sample from the last 2 years, where when you watch those games, you can just tell like he only ever plays at one speed and like kind of one mindset, right? And I don't know, it becomes a little bit more predictable in the playoffs, and I never feel like he's kind of reacting and adjusting appropriately in these high stakes playoff games. So that's all I want to see from Russ. If in order to convince me that the Rockets are going to be in the finals, chance to win it, etc. But like that said, you bring up a great point. Like it's definitely within the realm of possibility that the Rockets are the NBA champions just because you have two top 10 NBA players.
Yep. And before we move on, I got a couple deep cuts about who I want to see. Really look forward to see next season is Daniel House on the Rockets. He's this really young guy from Texas A&M who played pretty big minutes midway through the season when we had a lot of injury woes. and he just looked too young and just not ready for the moment when we ended up playing the Warriors, and we really needed him to kind of take on the 3 or 4 spot and just be a spark plug and really have some athleticism, have some youth into the lineup. And I even hope that he might be able to start at some point in the season so that we can put Eric Gordon back on the 6-man role. Other 2 deep cuts, because I think we need some better traditional 4 options so that we give some rest to PJ Tucker so he's not playing 36, 38 minutes a game, is Anthony Bennett, dude. I want to see him succeed. Like, he was the number 1 draft pick. Like, he can ball, and I've been watching a lot of G League highlights, and he looks legit. He can really score. He's got athleticism. He's got some nice pieces that he might not even make the roster and be off the team at some point in the season, but I definitely think he could do something for the team. And there's definitely a realm of within the realm of possibilities. There's definitely a scenario where he actually contributes and is a vital member of the team.
Dude, I almost forgot Anthony Bennett was on the squad.
Yeah, he's on
he's on a training camp contract.
Exactly, and
that kind of thing.
It's like nothing's. He's not even guaranteed to have a roster spot, but I like the pickup, and that was a sneaky cool pickup that I was like, oh, Anthony Bennett's on the Rockets potentially. I like it.
Yeah. Okay. Seriously, last Rockets point before we move on. It sounds like, I know that someone listening might think that I am a Russ hater. So I just want to clarify one thing. I love Russ. Watching Russ, I used to before I used to play back in high school, before I played pickup basketball, I used to watch mixtapes of Russ. I used to read his quotes about his mindset. I like Russ as a dude. I'm just I think the last couple of years have made me, I've just tried to kind of look at it from the other side of things in order to kind of be a little more kind of neutral and objective. But that said, it would be really dope to see Harden and Russ thrive and coexist as a duo. But like I said, it's one of those things where I just need the proof of concept before I start gushing about it. I guess that's what I got to say about Russ.
Yeah, you got to test drive it. You got to test drive it before you buy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and I also want to point out, I think Russ is a top 3, top 4 point guard. I'd have him for sure behind Curry, and Lillard, but that's about it. So I'm not trying to shit on Russ, but like I said, there are definitely some holes in his game that I just don't know how that'll work next to Harden. But who knows? People can adapt, people can evolve, people can get better at stuff. So who am I to? Why should I act like Russ is a finished product? But I just say all that to say, if I am not a Russ hater, even if it comes off that way.
Hey man, put some respect on him, dude. You saying Lillard is better than Westbrook?
Lillard is better than Westbrook, and
he might be after the performance, recency bias of the last year's playoffs, but I guarantee you by the end of the season we're gonna have Russ over Lillard.
Okay, so I actually, before that playoff series, I thought Lillard was better than Russ, and then that playoff series was what I said that playoffs. I told my friends, I was like, yeah, that playoff series rests my case. But that said, okay, I'll keep an eye out. I feel like at the end of the year, at the end of the season, maybe after the next year's playoffs, we should check back in and have a little fun discussion about Lillard versus Westbrook, because I think right now Lillard's got the edge.
All right, well, we can agree to disagree here.
Cool. So enough with the Rockets talk. Moving on. Since this is kind of I wouldn't say a dead period, but this is obviously probably the least active period of the basketball calendar. Right now the only thing going on is this FIBA World Cup, which we'll talk about in a second. So I want to take an opportunity to discuss something that is something that I think people could have discussions for days about, and that would be what I call the Markelle Fultz mystery. So my question to you, Jason, is the Markelle Fultz situation the weirdest thing that you've seen that was solely basketball related? So obviously there's shit like the Gilbert Arenas, guns in the locker room. That's a little more off the court. There's also Shaq telling Kobe to tell him how his ass tastes while like freestyling at a club, but once again off the court. So my question, like I said, is this the weirdest strictly basketball related thing you've seen?
Honestly, like I'm thinking about it, and I can't. I'm drawing out blanks to saying like literally someone who just like forgot how to shoot the basketball. Like his jump shot, it blows my mind. I watched clips of him in college. I watched the pre-draft stuff, and it was like the jump shot was smooth. It was maybe a little bit unorthodox, but like it was a smooth stroke, and he looked so like silky. And I was just like, oh my god, like this guy is a finished product. Like I cannot see this fail. And honestly, like nothing comes up to my mind in terms of I just like someone who just forgot how to shoot, and it's really sad because like you forget he had a triple double, right? Like he put up a triple double. He was one of the youngest people to ever put up a triple double.
I think he's the youngest guy to do it.
He's the youngest guy. Yeah, he's the youngest guy to do it. And like it takes like everyone's kind of saying like, oh, he's never playing the league. No, he's got a role in the league. Like he will be able to play on a team for a couple years. Like he's got the skills if he can put up a triple double, but like it's a difference of like, oh, is he going to be a decent player, or is he going to be like a Michael Carter Williams or like a Sean Livingston even? So
yeah,
I mean, have you seen anything this strange in terms of just like basketball related, like something you just completely did not see coming?
Not really. Like I'm kind of like you when it comes to strictly basketball related stuff. Like I'm kind of drawing a blank on things that have been this bizarre. Like for context, like I also think that part of it is just like how poorly, or I don't even know. I guess how poorly things were handled by like the Sixers PR and their medical teams. Like it's just been so bizarre. And then like I think Fultz got a lawyer to essentially finalize a diagnosis of, because I know he went to multiple doctors and only one of them gave him a diagnosis. It's been incredibly bizarre for something that is like strictly relating to like, can this guy shoot? Is he healthy? And it's strange because like you said, in college, when you watch him in college, like he's able to shoot. It's pretty clear he can shoot when he's in college. And then it's like in summer league, he was okay. He was fine. He had some highlights, and then like all of a sudden you watch and it's preseason and he's shooting all weird, and I don't know.
And I think just to take a step back, like it's really the reason you got some weird stuff happening from the Sixers and weird stuff happening from Fultz's side was no one wanted to admit that like they messed up, right? Like the Sixers didn't want to admit that, oh, like we could handle this differently, or like they were just trying to find reasons to kind of protect themselves and cover their ass. When if you really think about it, I think it's just the media, the fans. It's like just people like us who put so much focus on, he's not performing up to expectations. Like, and I think it's just unfortunate he got drafted into this high pressure situations where he was at the Sixers, where, they were at the come up, and the process has kind of been completed. They had Ben Simmons, they had Joel Embiid, and, everything was supposed to go according to plan, and he was just under a microscope. Like, think about it. If he played for like a random team, like the Pacers or something, right? Like he would not have this much media attention, and he would definitely have been able to kind of develop and kind of be able to wait in the wings. And like if he was under a good development program, like at the Pacers, where they are known to kind of take players in and really let them flourish on their own pace, I think this would have been a completely different story.
Yeah, that's a good point that you bring up. Like, I actually thought that I agree with you that like it seemed like there was no accountability, and it seemed like everyone was just looking for an out. Like, I know that some people believe that like the whole diagnosis on the shoulder was just kind of an out, so that to make hint to save face for Markelle. But yeah, it's just kind of a bummer, especially because like you said, not only was this like a situation where he's under the microscope, but also he was the Sixers traded up to get him, and they thereby like passed up on Jason Tatum, and as a result, you see him struggling. They meet in the playoffs, and Tatum is like balling out, and it just makes it so much worse in terms of just kind of the amount of scrutiny there is.
Yeah, and like this just goes on to like another thing about he's so young, dude. He's 21 years old. Like, Matt, how old are you?
I'm 21.
I mean,
So.
maybe, I'm not sure if you can even say that on like on a podcast and let it be known that you're 21 or something. But shoot, I'm like 23. Like I can imagine myself when I was 21. I was completely different. And I remember watching a clip going into the season of his rookie year where they were doing some behind the scenes Sixers media, and he was talking about how he loves eating like Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets, and how he was like super stoked that like the media day had like catered chicken nuggets. And I still remember the look on JJ Redick's face when he was seeing like, Markelle Fultz just like feasting on chicken nuggets. And he was just like, he looked like an older dude who's just looking at a young kid like, I can't believe this guy's like, he can just do that to his body. Like he was just, I think his comment was like, yeah, I can't do that. Like I'm too old, and like I need to be on a good diet regimen to get myself ready in terms of my body. And he's just looking at this like 19-year-old just like getting so excited that he gets free Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets. It's like, dude, like, yeah, of course, if he had that much pressure, like, things were bound to kind of snap.
Yeah, dude. And we both listened to the Ringer. We both listened to the mismatch on the Ringer. I think, wasn't it Kevin? It was either Kevin O'Connor or Vernon that reported that they saw Markelle Fultz at a summer league eating cheese fries.
Yeah, and it's like, I love cheese fries, man.
Cheese fries are dope, dude. Cheese fries are
dope. I love Chick-fil-A nuggets with the Chick-fil-A sauce. And it's like, yeah, I see myself in Markelle Fultz. Like, I at that age, at 19, 20, like, those are things that I care about. I don't really realize the gravity of, like, being the number one overall pick or, like, expected to play on a national stage. Like, some people are just not ready for those moments. And I think we've been kind of spoiled with a bunch of these young players who just like, not everyone's going to be a Giannis. Not everyone's going to be like a Jason Tatum, who are just like going to be good from the get-go and like be dunking on like LeBron James at like 19, 20. Like, we got to give him less space. And like, I'm happy that he's on the Magic. He's definitely out of the spotlight. Like I think in a couple, 2 or 3 years, like his ceiling could be like, just better Sean Livingston. Like, I really expect that out of him, and I hope that happens.
Okay, interesting. So I haven't heard the Sean Livingston comparison, but that is interesting because he is like a bigger guard, who has. I think one thing that was attractive about Fultz coming out of college was that he could, in theory, he can be a good defender, which Sean Livingston obviously was known for during his career. But I think you bring up a good point in that, like, in the whole, with the whole, like, we've been kind of spoiled by having all these really polished young players who kind of come into their own really early. And so that, like, you definitely bring up a good point that, like, we should be patient when it comes to young players, right? Like D'Angelo Russell took a couple years before he became an all-star. I think that's a good example. Victor Oladipo was in 2 unideal situations, and then he finally gets to Indiana in year 5, and he takes off. So I think that's a good point. One question I have for you is so this is a question of the, I guess, debate between the former number 1 picks. Would you rather have, let's say you could take, I guess I'll ask this in 2 ways. One, in your first, I guess in one sense, you should factor in the money, and then answer the question without factoring in the money. Would you rather have Andrew Wiggins or Markelle Fultz?
That's a good one. I think right now, if you put a gun to my head and it was like, all right, Andrew Wiggins, Markelle Fultz, what do you want? I'll take Wiggins, but I say for the next season, I want Wiggins. But I think in a career-wise, I still got a shred of belief in Markelle Fultz. It's just too early to decide. Like I'd say if I needed him for a season, I'll take Wiggins. But if I needed, long term without the money, and if we could start fresh, I would say I'm Fultz, man.
Okay.
And to amend my statement, like I would just put some thought into it. Like, I don't even think Sean Livingston is like Sean Livingston is his ceiling. I think D'Angelo Russell is like what I would really hope to see from like the career trajectory of Markelle Fultz. Like, he was so, like, I was watching like a couple of clips and highlights of Markelle Fultz. Dude, he was so silky, man. He was so smooth with the ball, and he just knew how to like play with pace, knew how to get to the rim, and he was like, he was just so smooth, and I think that's a little bit of what we see from like D'Angelo Russell. He had to grow up. He had to have that whole Nick Young experience, and like get driven out of town from a big market city with like a lot of expectations in LA, and he luckily found himself on a Brooklyn team that was like a smart team that knew how to kind of develop players and give them the space and time to let them kind of thrive on their own. And I really hope that happens for Fultz. So I'm buying stock. I'm buying stock on Markelle Fultz. I'll take it from other people. That puts me to another story where I was in New York City this past summer, and I went to the big flagship NBA store, and I went down to like the lower level to see kind of the clearance rack, and I shit you not, there was an entire rack full of Markelle Fultz Sixers jerseys, and I was like, man, like this would be like if he pops and I had one of these jerseys and I could just pull it out, be like, yo, you remember where he actually came from? He came from like the Sixers. Like it was in my head, but then I realized, wait, I don't really care that much.
Damn. Yeah, no. How much were they?
I don't know. It wasn't like the price. It was just the fact that like you had an entire section of the NBA store with just Markelle Fultz Sixers jerseys. It was actually next to the Kyrie Irving Boston Celtics jerseys, and that's when you knew it was like, yeah, it's over.
Yeah, it's over for Kyrie. That's funny. Yeah. It's always funny seeing like when someone leaves town and then like all the jerseys are hella cheap, or in some cases they become like retros, or like retros, so they're actually more expensive. But
it's really funny because I was in Mexico, and I went to one of the NBA stores, and I wasn't even expecting to have any like jerseys, but they were all like Kevin Durant on the Golden State Warriors jerseys, like Kyrie on the Boston Celtics jersey. I was like, man, like it also plays to like what we were saying, like this entire season is just like a fresh new season where a bunch of players has changed hands, that like the teams that we knew and kind of were familiar with last season are just completely different.
Yeah, absolutely. This is probably the most open, or kind of heading into the season.
I would say uncertain. It's just uncertain.
Yeah, this is probably the most uncertain NBA season since like 2014-15, I would say, which is the first year the Warriors won it. But people forget that year the Warriors were projected to maybe be at best case like a 4 seed. People thought the Clippers and the Spurs were going to be really good, and then the Cavs had just gotten LeBron back, so they were the favorites in the East. But I remember that year there was it was very similar. It was like a lot of movement in the offseason, and it's like similar deal. There just wasn't a clear favorite, and obviously in 2014 the Miami Heat Big Three had just broken up, so like kind of similar to this year, where it's like a superstar broke up the super team.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I earlier I mentioned the FIBA World Cup, and so it's September 1st, so that means this is the second day of play. It's the first day the U.S. played. I think the U.S. just beat the Czech Republic by like 20. But so my first question to you is like how invested are you in these games in this FIBA World Cup?
I would say it's mild. I think it's more of like it's gonna be like watching the NFL preseason. If you're a big NFL fan, you'll watch like the first 5 minutes and then realize, oh my God, what the hell am I doing? This is not what like NBA is like. It's just a taste of basketball. It's like when I watch like the smaller basketball tournaments that happen in the summer, like the TBT or something.
TBT, yeah.
TBT. I like watched 5 minutes. I was like, wait, what am I doing, dude? This is not the NBA. This is so discount and sub that like this is not worth my time, and I had to switch channel. But that's kind of my feelings for this World Cup. Like I'll watch like 5 or 10 minutes and then realize, wait, like this is not what I want, right? This is like drinking at the 7-Eleven where you're deciding from like off-brand Coke and regular Coke. You take like a couple sips and you're just like, oh my God, like what am I doing? I should have just bought the Coke. Like, was this like saving like 25 cents, 30 cents off of this like discount version much better? So that's I hope you can gauge kind of how I feel toward the World Cup just from those couple analogies. So I haven't really paid too much attention. I am interested to kind of see what happens to the players who end up kind of leading the team and how they perform next season, because I think there's a lot of theories, especially from stuff I'm hearing from like the Ringer, about players that kind of learn how to lead and take charge from these overseas tournaments and how they bring it into the next season. So I'm interested to see what that happens. But for the actual basketball, like I really don't care if they win or lose. Like it really doesn't matter.
Wow. So I have a very different opinion / take on this. So that's good. There's a little bit of disagreement, but so right off the bat, I think to frame it, so you mentioned like tuning into the TBT and then realizing like, this is not for me. So for context, last summer I actually watched a little bit of Big Three basketball, and I had the opposite reaction as you. I was like, wow, this is kind of cool. This is kind of entertaining. So I guess that's just different kind of perspective. But for me, the thing is, so I try to be a pretty objective fan. So I never use phrases like "we" when describing a sports team, even if I really like the team. The closest I ever got was like growing up, I rooted for the Lakers because Kobe was my favorite player. But I never even used "we" when I was rooting for the Lakers, and I don't use "we" when I talk about UVA basketball. Even though UVA basketball, I was a student there, and they won the national championship, all that good jazz. So that's just kind of my background on this, and I think that Team USA is the only time I actually say "we," only because I feel like I can truly claim like, the USA, right? Like I'm a citizen. I'm obviously a big basketball fan and whatnot. So that's the first thing. So like that for me, I do feel like a sense of like patriotism and whatnot. I do feel some connection to Team USA in that sense. So that's the first point. The second point is I'm personally really intrigued by this year's FIBA World Cup because I actually don't think the U.S. should be I don't even think the U.S. is an overwhelming favorite. And I say that because when you look at the roster, is there anyone who is like definitively a top 15 NBA player?
Yeah, honestly, I completely agree. I don't think they're like the presumed favorites. Like their best player is what, like Kemba Walker or Donovan Kemba, or even like if you really want to stretch it, Donovan Mitchell, based on like what his career trajectory is. But like, do you have the list of players that are playing in the tournament that are like better than any of the players? Like Giannis is better than everyone. Like Jokic
I was gonna say the problem is the best player in the field is the reigning MVP, who is like heads and shoulders better than everyone else in the field because Kawhi's not playing, LeBron's not playing, KD's not playing, Steph's not playing, etc.
James Harden isn't playing.
James Harden ain't playing.
Throw it in there. Yeah.
James Harden's not playing. So like, I don't know. Like, it's just like, so let's say Giannis is he's what, a top 3 player? Let's say he's top 3. Then the next best player is probably Jokic, who I would say is maybe in that 7 to 10 range. Mm-hmm. And then after that, it's like who else is like in that top 15 ballpark? None of them are from the USA. That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple stars, like you could say like Rudy Gobert, like
Rudy Gobert,
yeah, he's like top 20-ish, I would say. Marc Gasol, but he's like, it's a corpse of Marc Gasol. Like he's not like what he was 2 or 3 years ago. A couple like spark plug young players, like Vucevic, I think was playing, but I just remember he got stuffed when he was trying to dunk on Giannis. So like I'm throwing that out already. So yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that the USA has got no chance. I give them like I
think they're still deep enough to win it, but it's just like
I don't know. What percent chance do you think they have in winning the whole thing? Like it's slightly over 50, like 60, like 65?
65 sounds right. Like here's
65% chance.
To quote someone we're a big fan of, Mark Titus, like it's all about matchups, right? So like, for instance, if the USA never has to play Greece, if the USA does not have to play Greece, I would feel very good about their chances. But the thing is, if they play Greece, like, I don't know who's guarding Giannis. Like, the best defenders on the team are who? Marcus Smart, maybe Chris Middleton. Yeah, Derek White, and like, I don't know, Marcus Smart, Derek White a little too small for Giannis, and then Middleton is obviously Giannis's teammate. I don't really think that Giannis would be phased by Middleton. You know what I mean? So like, that's the first thing. I just don't see who guards Giannis, and Giannis is clearly the best player in the field, and he is a guy who can single-handedly win you a FIBA game.
Actually, I honestly think Serbia is a bigger threat because I think
because of Jokic.
Because Jokic, who are you gonna have guarding Jokic? Like Mason Plumlee? Like, come
Brook
on,
Lopez?
like, Brook Lopez, come on, dude! Like that's not enough.
Miles, hold on. The solution to Jokic, not that he's gonna strap him up, but he'll make him work, is Miles Turner.
All right, I mean,
I like Miles Turner. I like Miles Turner.
Yeah, but they got Boban, dude.
Oh shit! Wait, Serbia has Boban?
Yeah, they got Boban, dude.
Oh shit! Oh shit!
They're too big. They're too big. All right.
They're see. That's the thing. Yeah. So Greek has the solo performer, and they do have nice complementary players, but they have the one guy that the U.S. can't guard. And then Serbia has Jokic, who's obviously an MVP candidate. But on top of that, they had, like you just mentioned, I guess, it's now been brought to my attention, they're apparently big as shit. And, like, I don't know, like, we don't have anyone – the U.S. doesn't have anyone that's, like, that big. Like, there's tall guys, but a lot of the taller guys are kind of – they're kind of leaner, like Miles Turner, Brook Lopez. Like, I don't know. I don't think of Brook Lopez as some enforcer down low, you know?
Yeah, and they and those are just the front court, but then they got Bielicic, the guy from the Sacramento Kings who can bomb threes, playing apparently in their depth chart. He's from the 30, and they got Bogdan, who also plays for the Sacramento Kings, and he's the younger one that is like Bogdan or both. You know, I always get him mixed up with the guy that used to play for the Wizards, but I mean, he's good too. He's young. He can really stroke it. And I'm looking at their point guard. His name is Stefan Jovic, and he's 28. He's young. He's 6'6" point guard, dude. Like, he can ball. I bet you. He's a vet, dude. He's a vet.
All I'm saying is this is the first time I don't feel like it's gonna be blowout on blowout on blowout. You know.
Yeah, man, and I'm telling you, all these. I'm looking at the bench players. I don't know how to pronounce any of these names. There's 2 Marcos. There's a lot of freaking symbols above the letters. Like, and I bet you they all played in EuroLeague since they were like 16 years old. They know how to play. They know how to dog people. Like, they got the. It's like when you go to a basketball court and you see someone who's like a lot older, but they got like really good moves, and you're like, damn, like, how's he doing this? And then you realize, wait, yeah, he probably plays so much that he just has all these tricks in the bag. So I'm actually scared. I'm really scared of Serbia, man. Like, they're coming, dude.
Hang on. You're not gonna. I'm looking at Greece's roster right now. You're not gonna believe who their Wikipedia has them as the 3rd string shooting guard is.
Is it someone who like you didn't even realize was Greek, or you like?
I don't think
Greece long enough that he got a citizenship or something.
I need to do my research. This dude never struck me as Greek in any sense. You might not even know this guy. I'll give you a couple of hints. He was in the Final Four 2 years ago.
Oh, playing for what team though?
Oregon.
Oh God, what the who?
Tyler Dorsey.
Oh.
What the fuck? How the fuck is he Greek?
No, I'm telling you, he must have played in Greece or something, and like he played long enough there that he got citizenship. How's he Greek?
That's I'm Googling right now. Hold up. So he was on the Greek junior national team in 2015. So wait, I'm reading this from Wikipedia. Dorsey was originally cut from a USA basketball tryout for its U18 team in 2014. The next year, he was invited to Greece's U19 tryout camp. How do you just get invited? Like, don't you have to be? I guess he got citizenship at some point, but what? He didn't
Is
play
it
in
his
Greece.
parents? Okay, go down to the personal life.
Okay, he acquired dual citizenship. His mother was born to a Greek father and an Israeli mother. So I guess that is
So he's a quarter Greek?
quarter Greek, I guess.
That's enough? Okay, and I mean, look at that. He was Gatorade Player of the Year in California, dude. Like, that's legit.
I mean, I saw that dude snipe down Kansas in the Elite Eight. So I mean, he can play, but I'm just surprised to see that he's on the Greek now. And he's not even his Wikipedia has him as the third string shooting guard, which is kind of whack.
Oh my goodness, man. Let me look up Greek. Let me look at some of the box score. Did he even play or?
I'm looking. So their starting lineup is Nick Kalathis, who used to play at Florida. Okay, I'm gonna butcher all of these pronunciations, but Giannis Lorenzakis. Okay. Then there's Kostas Papanikolaou, who I've actually heard of. And then there's Giannis, and then there's some dude named Jonas Baroussis.
I know there used to be Papa Nicholas, Georgios, Papa Giannis. Papa Giannis.
Georgios Papagiannis, he's the backup center.
Yeah, he used to play on the Rockets, and he
was on the Kings. He was on
the
Kings too.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, all these European players played at some point on the Kings. I feel like, yeah. Tyler Dorsey in this last game against Montenegro, they won. Greece won 85-60. Yeah, Tyler Dorsey didn't even play. So
Oh my God!
If you got a former, was he All-American, not even getting minutes and playing on some of these teams, yeah, the Team USA should be scared.
All I'm saying is, yeah, I'm very curious to see if there's a tight game for the U.S. in like an elimination game. Like, who's gonna be the guy that's like, yo, give me the ball, I got it, I got this.
I mean, it's gotta be Kemba. It should be Kemba. It might be Donovan Mitchell. I can't think of anyone who's gonna like come out and take it. Like maybe Tatum. Does Tatum even get minutes? Like who's actually even getting
Tatum's
minutes?
probably gonna start, right? Maybe Harrison Barnes.
Oh my God! Harrison.
I mean, Harrison Barnes was on the 2016 Gold team, so they might give it. He might be one of the good. I mean, he's probably gonna start. Just out of
seniority. Yeah, but he didn't even play minutes though.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, that last team was a lot better than this one.
Wow. Yeah, I guess I'm looking up in the previous game, Czech Republic versus USA. Donovan Mitchell led the team in scoring in minutes at 25 minutes. The second one was Marcus Smart at 20 minutes. Next was Harrison Barnes at 20 minutes. Kemba at 18. Yeah. Tatum at 17. Miles Turner at 16.
Joe Harris played a lot.
Joe Harris played 20 minutes.
Dude, shout out Joe Harris. Shout out to Joe Harris.
Yeah, dude, like. Yeah, I want to kind of tune into Greece versus USA, Serbia versus USA.
I told you, dude. I told you, like this year, it's not a cakewalk anymore.
And they got it playing on ESPN.
Where are they playing? I don't even know. I was considering tuning into what's it called? I was thinking about watching USA Japan because Japan has Hachimura, but I realized they're probably gonna smoke Japan.
And it's also at 5:30 a.m.
Oh, Pacific time.
Pacific time, so it's gonna be like 8:30 on a Thursday.
Yeah.
For you, so
maybe
that's no dice there.
Maybe
no dice.
Maybe the I'm trying to see what channel these are on.
I'm not sure.
Damn.
I'm not even sure what they're.
ESPN.
Oh, so you got so I might be able to watch it, but still.
I'm hoping the elimination games are like during better times of the day, like maybe like a 9 a.m. Not 9
well,
a.m.
I mean, it's played in China, so you're like a 24-hour time difference. So like, let's assume that
it would have to be like
time
maybe
game is like 8.
Yeah, you're right.
8 or 9.
Shit. Maybe like a 10 a.m. tip off.
No, that might be 10 o'clock. No, it's not even played at 10 o'clock. Like it's a primetime game. Like it's got to be played at like 8 or 9.
I guess I might have to get up early to watch. If the U.S. plays Greece or Serbia, I might tune in. Honestly,
Look, honestly, it's gonna start at like 8:30, and then where
finish at
you don't
like
really
10.
you don't need to watch like the
The
first
first
half. You
half.
just
That's true.
watch the second half and get the tail end. You'll probably be able to catch it at like 9:30, 10.
That's true. That's a good point. I might do that.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say about the Team USA is if there's anything I feel incredibly confident about this year, it's the coaching.
Yeah, and it feels so bad because it's Greg Popovich's like first go around. Like you want he's such a good coach. It's just like it's what he had to work with and like just kind of circumstances. Like he thought he had this team and then everyone dropped and then he kind of had to like figure it out on the fly. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, the only reason Derek White is on the team is because he's a Spur. Like
Oh,
so,
you think it's nepotism?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Um, what I was gonna say was, yeah, obviously there's Popovich, but I really like the assistants as well. They got Steve
Yeah,
Kerr,
Steve Kerr, right? Yeah.
Lloyd Pierce with the Hawks, who I thought did a good job last year, and then Jay Wright at Villanova.
Yeah, man. Why
Yeah.
can't they invite Tony Bennett? Bring the pack line.
Oh, they
Right?
apparently.
Isn't
Yeah.
the 3-point line like a little bit shorter too? Like it'd be
Isn't
perfect
it
at the back
farther?
line.
Isn't it farther than college?
Is it? Oh, it might be farther than college, but the basketballs are like slightly smaller.
Okay.
Like the
Yeah.
basketballs are either like weird are a different shape or like the grip is a little bit different, which is why like Joe Harris and Chris Middleton have been struggling early because it's just a different ball.
I see. Hey, you want to know who from the Houston Rockets is on Team USA?
Wait, what? Oh, it was PJ Tucker, but then he left, and then Eric Gordon, he also left too, right?
I'm talking like personnel.
Personnel? Is it
You're not gonna know this guy.
wait, who is it? Is it like a personal trainer or something, or the team
Yeah, he's
doctor?
an athletic trainer. His name is Jason Biles.
Jason Biles. I'm about to look him up on Google. Jason Biles. Yeah, I've never seen him in my life.
The only Rocket that's involved with Team USA this year.
Hey man,
But next year I think Harden's gonna. I don't know. Harden's already won a gold medal. I don't know if he wants to play, but we'll see.
I mean, honestly, if they lose, then all the stars are gonna be like, oh crap, like we gotta come out and like win and. After the Rockets win the championship, Harden's gonna be like, all right, I'll just chill and give myself a gold medal. Like, keep 2020 being a golden year. So
Yeah, so I guess we'll see. Definitely just something to keep an eye out for. Like if the U.S. runs into trouble, definitely something I'm gonna keep my eye out for. We're getting close to the 1 hour mark, so I'm gonna try to wrap things up. But any kind of last thoughts, things you wanted to throw out on the record?
no, I wish we played fantasy football because I got a lot of takes on a lot of different players and a lot of different like convoluted theories because this is the first time I'm putting some real money on the table. Like I'm talking like $50, which is it's a pretty big pretty big buy-in. So I've been doing a lot of mock drafts, a lot of like research, a lot of just like and for me, fantasy football is a very gut thing, and I don't know how to explain a lot of things. I got to really like sit down and probably write this out to kind of understand how I make some of my decisions. But I'll just keep that to myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing how college basketball comes out, and the NBA. We're still a couple months away from. When does the season tip off? Like in November, right? End of November
Late October.
Late October. Oh, okay. So it's
Closer than you
like
think.
2 months here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, to the listeners, I want to thank you for listening. Please subscribe to the podcast, however you're listening to it, whether it be Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, or YouTube. Once again, I want to thank my guest Jason for joining me today, and you'll hear from us soon.
All right. Peace.